Thank you, Isra. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
And you are still muted.
Sorry about that. Thank you. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. So we stopped at Ayah 11 of Surah Al-Mulk, Surah 67, and the last few ayats, I think it was from Ayah 6 to 11, they were about warning, and we were warned of the consequences and implications of not following divine guidance, not believing in God as He's described in the very beginning. And those consequences, especially in the hereafter, are very dreadful. And we talked about how the description is itself is a rahmah, because it matches the gravity, the seriousness of the situation, so that we may take it to heart and take it seriously, inshallah. Especially that in Ayah 11, if you remember, we were told that the disbelievers will admit their sins. It means that that's a hint, it's a sign, it's an indication that right now everyone knows deep down what they are truly doing, what they're truly believing. However, only those who reach out inside their hearts and reflect and listen will be able to take the right actions, make the right choices. The majority of people will just carry on living blindly and mindlessly until suddenly, at the time of death or after death, when we are resurrected, there everything will be clear and there will be no way to run away from the truth. And so everyone will have to admit their sins. So we want to admit it here before it's too late, so we may ask for forgiveness and repent and go back to following divine guidance and living by it. So after the warning for disbelief and how it leads to hellfire, in Ayah 12, we're given the good news for the believers. And today, inshallah, I want to only dwell on Ayah 12. I did not expect to stay that long in Ayah 12, actually. Subhanallah. In Ayah 12, we are told, استعيذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم إن الذين يخشون ربهم بالغيب لهم مغفرة وأجر كبير. Truly, for those who fear their sustainer with awe, although they cannot see him, there is forgiveness and a great reward. And the indefinite article that is in maghfiratun, forgiving, denotes complete forgiveness. And it's the same for ajrun kabir, ajrun kabirun. And that is a sign that the forgiveness and the forgiving and the reward are truly significant. In other words, the forgiving, the reward are so great that they cannot be perceived by anyone. They cannot be defined. They have no limits. So it has this, there is plenty and abundance of maghfirah, complete forgiveness, and ajrun kabir. And you note also that forgiveness is mentioned first and then the reward, because we cannot truly appreciate the reward if we are worrying about all our sins and mistakes. And so first we hear that we are totally forgiven, and now we are at ease and we can appreciate and enjoy the reward, or even when we are reading this ayah, the news about the reward after the forgiveness, inshallah. We're also told that those who fear their Rabb, their sustainer, bil ghaib, unseen, sometimes translated as unseen, or although they cannot see him. But when we say although they cannot see him, we're actually interpreting the expression in one particular way, when the expression bil ghaib can be understood in two different ways. One is although they cannot see God because he is unseen. If you remember, like in Surah Al-Baqarah, in the third ayah, when the muttaqeen, the God conscious, are described as الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ, those who believe in the unseen. Although it is unseen, it can be understood in various ways. Bil ghaib also can be understood as when no one is around, no one to see them, meaning. And that means that whether publicly or privately. And both of them are okay, because the second meaning is, we'll see it in the next ayah, in ayah 13 anyways. And if people who truly believe in God bil ghaib, although they cannot see him, and they fear him therefore, although they cannot see him, then they have that, they are authentic in their belief, in their connection and relationship with God, because they know God, and so they have full integrity. Otherwise, there is hypocrisy. So these people are not hypocrites. They know God in such a way that they would not even imagine cheating, because they know that worshiping God and submitting to him and obeying to God, obeying him, following his guidance, is not a favor they are doing to God, but a favor to themselves, because we alone benefit from submitting to God and following his guidance and obeying him. God is beyond any need of our worship or our gratitude. And you remember the ayah in Surah Al-Fatir, which is Surah 35, ayah 15, we're told, Ya ayyuhan nas, antumul fuqara ila Allah, wallahu wal ghaniyul hamid. O people, it is you who stand in need of God, whereas he alone is self-sufficient, the one to whom all praise is due. Whether we praise him knowingly or not, whatever we praise, all praise go back to him, because the praised things all belong to him. Tabarak alladhi biyadihi al-mulk is the beginning of this surah. Blessed is he who, to whom all mulk, all sovereignty, everything belongs. And in Surah Luqman, which is Surah 31, in ayah 12, we are told that we granted this hikmah, this wisdom unto Luqman, be grateful unto God. So hikmah, true wisdom, is to be grateful to God alone. أن يشكر لله ومن يشكر فإنما يشكر لنفسه ومن كفر فإن الله غني حميد. So it is telling us, be grateful to God alone, because he who is grateful unto God is grateful for his own good, whereas he who is ungrateful, here ungrateful or disbelieves, it's the same word, kafara. He needs to know that God is self-sufficient, to whom all praise is due. God is self-sufficient, is beyond any need. He doesn't need our worship or our belief or our gratitude. We are the ones who need it. In Surah An-Naml, Surah 27, in Ayah 40, we are told, وَمِنْ شَكَرَ فَإِنَّمَا يَشْكُرُ لِنَفْسِهِ وَمَنْ كَفَرَ فَإِنَّ رَبِّي غَنِيٌّ كَرِيمٌ. The other one was غَنِيٌّ حَمِيدٌ, here غَنِيٌّ كَرِيمٌ. He who is grateful to God is but grateful for his own good, and he who is ungrateful should know that truly my Rabb, my sustainer, is self-sufficient, most generous in giving. He is the one who gives. He doesn't need us to give him anything. When we are grateful, when we follow the guidance, when we obey the command of be grateful to God alone, we are doing it for our own benefit, because there is no anything else would be falsehood. It's the only reality, the only truth, that everything, the source of everything, is him alone. So he is the most generous in giving. In Surah Al-Zumar, Surah 39, Ayah 7, we are told, if you don't believe, surely God is beyond need of you. He's self-sufficient. He is beyond need of you. He is not pleased with disbelief for his servants. And if you are grateful, he is pleased therewith for you. And none shall bear the burden of another. Then unto your Rabb, your sustainer, is your return, and he shall inform you of that which you used to do. Truly, he knows what lies within the chests, or some say within the hearts. So if you don't believe, God is beyond any need of your belief. But he's not pleased with disbelief. He's not being pleased is also a guidance for me. It means it's something against reality, something that will harm me when I disbelieve. When I'm disbelieving in the truth, I'm believing in falsehood. And that is what leads me to hellfire, because that takes me away from God, away from his generosity, away from his mercy, from his rahmah, that we need so much, that we long for. All that we long for is with him. So anything that takes us away from him will take us away from whatever we strive for in this life. Another noteworthy term in this ayah is the verb يخشون. We are told إن الذين يخشون ربهم بالغيب لهم مغفرة وأجر كبير. So the word يخشون here, which I said, who fear the sustainer with awe, some people say who stand in awe of their sustainer. Some translated it as who fear the sustainer. And this verb yakhshawna is from the verb khashiya, and the root is khashinia, and it occurs 48 times in the Quran. And it denotes fear, but especially fear with reverence, with veneration, with awe, with respect. And maybe awe, maybe the closest. In one dictionary, I found a definition of awe, and it said an overwhelming feeling of reverence, admiration, and fear. But the element of fear in yakhshawna is more at the fore, and it also has a connotation of knowing the consequences of the situation, the consequences and maybe the implication of a situation. That means here yakhshawna refers to fear, but not baseless fear, to a fear that is based on known evidence rather than a fear of something imagined. that won't be, we won't use, usually يخشون or khashia won't be used there. And one such usage in the Quran is in, I think it's Surah Al-Kahf, Surah 18, Ayah 80, when the sage, usually known as Al-Khidr, speaks to Musa alayhi salam, and he says, as for the young boy, his parents, وَأَمَّا الْغُلَامُ فَكَانَ أَبَوَاهُ مُؤْمِنَيْنِ فَخَشَيْنَا أَنْ يُرْهِقَهُمَا طُغْيَانًا وَكُفْرًا. That فَخَشِينَا is, so as for the young boy, his parents were believers, and we had every reason to fear. So we feared, but it's not just we feared, we had reason to fear that he would make them suffer much through rebellion and disbelief. It means there was evidence for the boy being rebellious. And so here it's يَخْشَوْنَ رَبَّهُمْ بِالْغَيْبِ, meaning not only, as I said, it can have two meanings, that God is unseen, and although they do not see God, but because they testify the evidences, the signs in his creation, and they know him with his beautiful names, then they fear him they are at awe at him and they fear him. And this, the second meaning is contained within the first meaning, which is when they know God and fear him this way, then they will fear him not only in public, but also in privately, when they are not seen by anyone. And actually, people who truly know God and truly fear him, their action are not going to change. If they change, they will be probably more pious when they're alone, because when in public they may fear boasting and showing off. Whereas when there is a hypocrisy, then it's the other way around. People are going to act differently in public as when they are alone. And when there is that, that hypocrisy, that not acting consistently, that inconsistency is a sign that we don't truly submit to his will. We don't truly know him, and therefore we don't truly fear God. It means that we don't truly realize the reality of what we claim, or we don't take the warning seriously. Either it's a matter of a lack of knowing and realization, or a lack of taking things seriously. But these two are equivalent. Why? Because if we have a lack of realization and we are not making an effort to seek the reality of who we are, what we are doing here, and who our Rabb is, it means we don't truly care. We are not taking it truly seriously. And especially in the context of this ayah, the warnings was so severe. If we don't take this warning seriously, then it means we're not serious. We don't truly believe in what is told to us. It means somehow, whether we realize it or not, whether we're doing it mindfully or not, intentionally or not, we are choosing to be reckless. Because we can hide from people, but we cannot hide from God. So to fear God in public, but not privately, when no one sees us is a sign of arrogance. And arrogance means that self-deception of not truly being aware that we are abd, we are totally dependent on our Rabb's sustaining and his rububiyyah. And it's a self-deception because God sees everyone and everything in all situations, anyways, as we are reminded in the next ayah that we will, inshallah, talk about next week. So in ayah 13, we are told, وَأَسِرُّ قَوْلَكُمْ وَاجْهَرُوا بِهِ إِنَّهُ عَلِيمٌ بِذَاتِ الصُّدُورِ. Whether you keep your words secret or say them openly, publicly, he is all knower of what is inside the hearts. So just because I'm keeping something from being publicly known, it doesn't mean that God doesn't know it. And of course, the believers are aware of this, but the others are only deceiving themselves. So to fear publicly and act accordingly, but not in private, is a clear sign of our hypocrisy. And we are not using this for others because we don't know about others. We are going to use this for ourselves. Each one of us can use this as to make muhasaba, to find out where do I stand, what am I doing, how much, and the more istighfar we do, the more it will be easier to see more subtle states of hypocrisy within us. And it's better to find out now than in Akhirah, on the Day of Judgment, when it's too late. So if you say, but no, I'm not a hypocrite, I don't want to see my hypocrisy, that itself is hypocrisy, because there is always room for bettering ourselves, for increasing our iman, for getting closer to our Rabb, for bettering our ubudiyyah. So it's an opportunity. And the God conscious, al-muttaqeen and the muhsins, act even, as I just mentioned, more pious when in private than in public, for fear of showing off. And so fear of God is a sign of being guided, a sign of following guidance. It is a gift to those who are willing to be purified from the arrogance and delusion of imagining ourselves independent somehow of our Rabb, or not being present to the reality that we are totally and completely dependent on our Rabb. Sometimes it seems like in some areas we are somehow independent. That's a delusion. It's a delusion of it needs to be purified, and it leads to shirk. So we need that purification. And fear of God is going to help us in this process. So for me, I used to think of fear of God is not bad. And then I started realizing that fear of God is good, actually. We need fear of God. But in this, while reflecting on this ayah, inshallah, I will share with you, there are so many ayat that unpack and unfold this truth for us. It's actually required. The fear of God is not just not bad or it's good. It is a required, like prayers. We are asked in the Quran, imperative, اخشوني, fear me. Do not fear other things, fear me. So it's something that we need to be practicing, and it should be part of our practice. And it is required in order to heal ourselves and purify ourselves from potential shirk of fearing the others. Because why do we fear others? Because we are giving them, empowering them, giving them some power, some power to control, some power to have effects on our lives and others. And so it is when there is fear of God alone, our fear of others is going to be healed, inshallah. And so we'll be healed from the misery and the anxiety of fearing others. And we get to appreciate God's rahmah and his beautiful names more and more, and truly appreciate them. We'll, inshallah, I'll share my reflections with you, but I was like, I realized that I had not appreciated this fear of God properly before now. So when we are told in the Quran, in Surah Al-Nazi'at, which is Surah 79, in ayah 17 and 19, when Musa alayhi salam was sent to Pharaoh, to Fir'aun, he was told, "Go unto Pharaoh, for truly he has transgressed all bounds of what is right. And say, do you wish to be purified? And that I guide you to your Rabb, so that you may fear him?" So, هل لك إلى أن تزكى وأهديك إلى ربك فتخشى. So تخشى is the same verb here. And Musa alayhi salam is told to go and tell this to Fir'aun. So he is telling him, do you wish to be purified? And how is he going to be purified? He says, Musa alayhi salam is asked to say, I guide you to your Rabb, not to God. Of course, our Rabb is God, but in this particular context, it has to be spelled out, because we can just say God and we don't know who God is. But God is our Rabb. It means, because we can say God and then make everything else into our small Rabbs. No, our Rabb, the one who takes care of everything, the one who has control over everything, is our Rabb. He is God. As we are told in other ayat, your Rabb is God, or God is your Rabb. And he said, I'll guide you to your Rabb so that you may fear him. If I do not fear my Rabb, it means I don't know my Rabb. Something is amiss, something is missing. And not fearing Rabb in this context, there is also results in much transgression and oppression and wrongdoing. That's why Musa alayhi salam was sent onto Pharaoh, because he was a taghi, he had transgressed. He was oppressing others, and he was a wrongdoer. And so all transgression and oppression and wrongdoing in the world is the result of not fearing God on two sides, whether we are the wrongdoer or the victim of the wrongdoer. It could be the wrongdoer thinks that he has the power and he doesn't fear God, and someone who is submitting to his oppression and transgression and thinks himself of a victim, because he doesn't fear God, but he fears those he sees as having power. So, and though the same mentality on both sides feed each other, it's like a vicious circle, and it feeds oppression and transgression. And in order for the oppression and transgression to stop, we need not only, if we are in power, not to use that power to wrong others. And if we are in a position of weakness, we do not apparent weakness. We don't have an authority. We do not accept oppression. We do not bow to the oppressors. And of course, there are also degrees of how to do that according to wisdom. I won't go there. So we are also told that only those who fear God heed the warning. So now we understand now in Ayah 12, we are not told, and those who believe in their Rabb bil ghaib, but those who fear their Rabb bil ghaib. Why? Because it comes right after the warning, and these people are believers anyway, but they need, that belief needs to have anchored in their hearts, because fear is an emotion. It comes from the heart. It means that belief has now indication. We can see that this person has belief because this person fears God. And we are told in another ayah in Surah Al-Fatir, which is Surah 35 in ayah 18, that only those who fear God heed the warning. And we just last week saw how severe the warning were. And it was not only one ayah like 12, it was like 5, 6 ayat were all about warning us. So the warning is very important. And fear of God is a result of purification. That purification from that shirk, from that arrogance, from that imagining that we are little Rabbs on our own, so we need God sometimes, and most of the time it seems as though we are existing on our own, which is totally false. We cannot exist on our own or sustain our existence even one instant. We don't know how we even breathe or see or hear or talk. But in our mindlessness, we become arrogant. We take things for granted. That's why the opposite or of being arrogant is that humility of being grateful. Grateful to whom? To the giver, to our Rabb, to our sustainer. And so we need this purification, and the purification, this tazkiyah, is going to happen when we follow the guidance. We live it, we perform it. We just don't listen to it and then go and live however we want. So in Surah Al-Fatir, in Ayah 18, we're told, you can only warn those who fear their Rabb, their sustainer. إِنَّمَا تُنذِرُ الَّذِينَ يَخْشَوْنَ رَبَّهُمْ بِالْغَيْبِ. You only can warn those who fear their sustainer unseen, although they don't see him, and establish the prayer. وَأَقَامُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَمَنْ تَزَكَّى فَإِنَّمَا يَتَزَكَّى لِنَفْسِهِ وَإِلَى اللَّهِ الْمَصِيرُ. And whosoever purifies himself this way, purifies himself only for the good of his own self. And to God is the journey's end. It means we all returning to him. We are in a state of returning to him because we are coming from him. Everything comes from him, and therefore everything returns to him. So it's very important here that you can only warn those who fear their Rabb unseen, and establish the prayer. Because the prayer comes here after, because then the prayer is going to be meaningful and it's going to be established, inshallah. And then the purification. That's how we purify ourselves, or we are purified, inshallah. We are also told in Surah At-Tawbah, which is Surah 9, Ayah 18, that okay, so it starts with it says God's places of worship, masajid Allah, shall be maintained only by those who believe in God and the last day, and establish prayers and give zakat, obligatory charity, and who fear none but God. وَلَمْ يَخْشَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. So there, the emphasis is there, and they fear no one except God. Such as these may be among the rightly guided. So the sign that we are on the right path, on the path of guidance, we are being guided, is that fear of God is in our heart, and it increases, inshallah, as we are more and more guided, as we purify ourselves from the arrogance of ghafla, of mindlessness, and the falsehood that leads to shirk, or that stems from shirk as well, because when we imagine ourselves to be independent of God, that's the origin of all shirk, actually, and we project it onto the world. So here we are told, those who believe in God and the last day and establish the prayer and give obligatory charity, and who fear no one except God, such as these may be among the rightly guided. Only such people may hope to be among the rightly guided. Subhanallah. أولئك أن يكونوا فعسى أولئك أن يكونوا من المهتدين. So fearing God is among the conditions of being guided. Otherwise, it means the heart is not yet moved with awe, with reverence to the rububiyyah that we inshallah observe and witness in the world. And if we are not witnessing the rububiyyah in the world, we are not making the shahada, we are not realizing that we are abd. Abd means that I am totally mulk of God. I am totally owned. I have lots of needs, and I have no power to take care of those needs, most of them. Well, I go and get the ready food and bring it and put it in my mouth, and then I wait. Bifadlillah, it's being digested. So what we do is a small dua, a small thing, and what we do, our action is not there to cover the rububiyyah as when people live in ghafla. It is the opposite. It is because I perform that small action that I can now be at awe of all the rest of the actions that are beyond my power and my control. If I had no action to do at all, I would have no point of reference. I would have nothing to compare with. But now, because I know it is so hard to go and work and to just go and get the food that I did not grow. The food is already grown. And I just put it in my mouth, and then I wait. I don't know how to chew myself. I cannot make myself chew. I cannot make the food be digested. I cannot make it into blood. I cannot sustain my life myself. And so the more I reflect, I see that what is needed is so huge, and what I do is just a small tip of the iceberg, and it is what attracts my attention to the rububiyyah that's going on. And so I prostrate in awe and in gratitude to my Rabb. And so we need to dwell on that feeling of awe and to acknowledge it and to remain with it and nurture it. If we just feel the awe and quickly move to something else, it's not going to be rooted in the heart. It's not going to get anchored in the heart. Other things will get anchored. Things that we keep, for instance, we have fear of what will happen to me, and those ones we keep again and again repeating it and fearing it and thinking about it until it becomes as though it's our reality. We need to repeat and dwell on the awe, on the reality, acknowledge that feeling, remain with it, nurture it, confirm it until it impacts who we are and how we perceive the world and how we think and speak and act, inshallah. And that's why we are told, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يَخْشَوْنَ رَبَّهُمْ بِالْغَيْبِ لَهُمْ مَغْفِرَةٌ وَأَجْرٌ كَبِيرٌ. So these are some of the reflections stemming from wondering why we are told those who fear their sustainers, بالغيب, although they cannot see him, instead of, for instance, those who believe in their Rabb بالغيب. So remember that fear is an emotion, and so it concerns the heart. It means that the heart is engaged with its Rabb rather than other worldly things and matters. The more there is fear of God, the less there is going to be fear of the other things. So those who fear God and stand in awe of him, they're less likely to easily fall into ghafla. Because falling into ghafla is a sign that we're not taking matters seriously. The heart is still attached to worldly matters, and so it harbors worldly fears, and whatever we fear is going to be our Rabb. We're going to try to acquire it because we fear it, because we think it is going to bring us what we seek, what we need. And so fearing others than God is a deviation from the right path. That's why fear of God alone is so important. In Surah Al-A'la, we told, وَنُيَسِّرُكَ لِلْيُسْرَى فَذَكِّرْ إِن نَفَعَتِ الذِّكْرَى سَيَذَّكَّرُ مَن يَخْشَى. So yakhsha is the same verb. So we told, and we shall ease you onto the path of ease, therefore remind, surely reminder does benefit. He benefits who? He who fears will remember. He who doesn't fear will forget immediately and will go and follow the things he fears, the things he's seeking, and fears that their absence will make him unhappy or whatever, weak, or it means if we know God as our Rabb, we are going to fear him. If we are fearing other things, it means we are imagining them to be somehow, in some ways, small Rabbs.
So, Dr. Yamina, yes, that means that there is no state where we don't fear anything. We either...
Yes, I was going to come there. Yes, that's the good point. Yes, exactly. It's like believing. It's like worshiping. We're always worshiping things and adoring things. Either we are worshiping the right object of worship, our Rabb, or worshiping other things. And so it is with fear. That's exactly that. We are always fearing things, and we are either fearing our Rabb, God, or other things. So here it's interesting that fear and awe moves the heart so that it becomes easy to remember. We remember what we fear. And fear is part of us, as Isra is just mentioned. Like everything else, it is given to us to bring us closer to our Rabb, closer to fulfillment in this world and in the next, the fulfillment of our human potential, of the purpose of our life, the purpose of our creation. But as with everything else, we can mindlessly use it to get away from haqq, from light, and deeper into darkness, into falsehood. Or we can use it mindfully, intentionally, with ihsan and taqwa to get closer to God. So, for instance, we have fear of the unknown future for various reasons. Different people will have fear of tomorrow, of the future, for different reasons. It could be money, health, whatever. Yet, we don't even know if we are going to live till that imaginary future, whether it's tomorrow or next year or in 10 years. Even that is, so that it's a baseless fear because we don't even have that warranty. Plus, and more importantly, everything is under our Rabb's control. تبارك الذي بيده الملك وهو على كل شيء قدير. The first ayah of this surah, we were told, blessed be in whose hand the sovereignty of everything belongs, and because he has power over all things. So if he has power over all things, why are we fearing other events, things, people, conditions, whatever? So that's why in the Quran we are guided to redirect our fears towards its true purpose, which is to know God and worship Him alone and stand in awe of Him alone, because He alone has control over everything we need and we seek and long for. And if we fear anything but Him, we are just deluding ourselves and we're knocking at the wrong door. It's going to be very painful. So when we are guided to redirect our fear towards its true purpose, we are at the same time being shown the way to, it's a deliverance from the painful fear of worldly objects, of created things who cannot help us because they cannot even help themselves. And even if it seems like they have a very limited, they can help us to a limited extent, I'm saying seems because the true believer knows that even that help is through God. Actually, we know God is the helper because through the help of things and others, his help is reaching us. But when we are unaware of that, it seems like things themselves are, or people themselves are helping us. But even, let's say, we are not aware that it is bi'idnillah, bi'idni Rabbi, and we think that those things are helping us, then clearly they cannot reach beyond the grave. So we have to stop and pause and start reflecting and questioning these objects of these many sources of help, of power, of whatever we are seeking. And therefore we are either fearing them because they may not give us what we want, or fearing their departure from us because if they leave us, what am I going to do without them? It could be both ways, but there is a fear associated with things. Not necessarily that things are oppressing us. It could be because They are blessings, but because we do not realize that they are blessings from our Rabb, we think that our well-being is dependent on them. And so there is this fear, what if they leave me? What if I lose these privileges, these blessings? What will happen to me? For instance, wealth. For instance, for some people, youth. I'm getting older, and older means also weaker, etc., etc. Imam Badiou Said Nursi, he writes on this subject. Actually, the first time that I started reflecting on how fear of God is not bad and it's good was through reading this passage that I am sharing with you right now. So he says, I observe that the most fortunate person in this worldly life is he who sees the world as a guest house and submits himself and acts accordingly. Seeing it in this way, he may rise swiftly to the rank of winning God's pleasure, the highest rank. Such a person will not give the price of a lasting diamond for something as valueless as glass, doomed to be broken. He will pass his life uprightly and with joy. Yes, matters to do with this world are like pieces of glass that will be broken, while the lasting matters of the hereafter are as precious as flawless diamonds. The intense curiosity, fervent love, terrible greed, stubborn desires, and other intense innate human emotions were given to gain the matters of the hereafter. To direct them fervently towards the transitory things of this transient, ephemeral world is to give the price of eternal diamonds for doomed fragments of glass. A point has occurred to me in connection with this, so I shall recount it like this. It is like this. Passionate love is an ardent sort of love. When it is directed towards transitory objects, it either causes its owner perpetual torment and pain, or, since the ephemeral beloved is not worth the price of such fervent love, it causes the lover to search for an eternal one. Then the ephemeral love is transformed into true lasting love that looks to God and his most beautiful names, and therefore to the eternal world of the hereafter. Human beings possess thousands of emotions, each of which has two degrees, one ephemeral and worldly, the other true and authentic. For example, everyone feels anxiety about the future. A person is intensely anxious about the future, but then sees that she has no guarantee that she will reach the future she is so anxious about. Also, if it is her livelihood she is worried about, anyway it is promised, and the brief future is not worth such terrible anxiety. So she turns away from the worldly future towards the true future beyond the grave, which is long-lasting and which for the heedless has not been promised. And so that, I stop here because he's going to take other emotions. So that fear of the future is transformed into fear for the true future after death, beyond the grave. And therefore, we start taking guidance seriously, and we start getting to know God. And as we start knowing God as our Rabb more and more, then our heart will be filled with the love of God, with gratitude for God, and therefore the fear will also be a fear for being away from his rahmah, away from him. Away from him means darkness, means no rahmah, means that's hell. So when we are guided to fear God alone, it is to our own benefit. Because when we don't fear God, we fear other things. We always have some kind of fear. And when we fear other things, we empower them. There is a hidden shirk there. But those things don't know us, or they don't care about us. And even if they do have our best interests in mind, like, for instance, let's say our family, even if they truly want to help us, they do not have the power to help us and be always there for us. They themselves, they are just as in need of help as we are. So this fear is either useless, or worse, it can be humiliating, destructive. If we fear those who do not care for us, it's going to be really destructive and painful. In any case, this fear is either useless or devastating. That is why we are asked to fear God alone, because fearing God is a blessing, because He answers our prayers. He is close to us. He is generous. He is most compassionate, most merciful. He is loving. He has the power over all things. He controls all things. So when we fear Him, it means we know that He is our Rabb. And so we can truly fear God alone to the extent we love Him, we know Him and love Him. If we don't know God and love, we can't love Him. And if we don't love Him, we can't fear Him. Because there is nothing to lose. Fearing Him here is fearing of being away from Him, away from His mercy, away from His beautiful divine names. But if we don't know Him, we don't know what we're losing. So we don't fear. We don't love Him means wanting to be close to Him. And so if there is no loving Him and wanting, appreciating being close to Him, there is no appreciation of the cost of being away from Him. We don't know the difference. We are in darkness. And that's why in the Quran we are told in Surah Al-Fatir again, Surah 35, Ayah 28, we are told, إِنَّمَا يَخْشَى اللَّهُ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ الْعُلَمَاءِ. Of all His servants, only those who have knowledge fear God. Only those who know God fear Him. Inna Allah Azizun Ghafur. Truly God is almighty, all forgiving. He is all forgiving, good for us, because however much we strive to know Him, we are always going to be, there's going to always be something missing. So it is soothing to know that He is forgiving as well. It is part of the knowledge that we need. That's why we are being taught that, like, don't worry, don't go into panic mode now. He is forgiving as well. And so it is those who know God who can truly stand in awe and fear of Him. So this is an important point. Not knowing God with His most beautiful names, it means there can't be true awe and fear. There's nothing to lose. We don't know what we're losing. And so when people don't really know God and love Him, knowing Him with His beautiful names and love Him, it's more about fear of hellfire. And there is resentment. That's not the fear mentioned in these passages. Because the more we know God and His rahmah, we realize that hell is painful because we'll be away from Him and His rahmah. So yes, it's not like we want to be in hellfire, but it's not a fear of hellfire only. A fear of hellfire because in hellfire There is no, we're away from God. We're away from His rahmah. In Surah Al-Anbiya, which is Surah 21, in ayah 48 and 49, 48 just to give us a little bit of context, we are told, we indeed gave Musa and Harun the criterion, Al-Furqan, and a light and a reminder for the muttaqin, for the God conscious. Who are the muttaqin in here? Who fear. وذكرا للمتقين الذين يخشون ربهم بالغيب وهم من الساعة مشفقون. So a reminder for the God conscious who fear their sustainer, although he's unseen, and who are therefore wary of the last hour. So they are wary of the last hour, but before that, they are muttaqeen, and because they are muttaqeen, they fear their Rabb, and because of that, they are wary of the last hour when we'll have to stand before God on the day of judgment. So it's not just mere fear of hellfire. So fear of God with reverence and awe implies knowing God as our Rabb and loving Him and praising Him with His most beautiful names. So it's a fear of being away from His rahmah, away from His razaqiyah, from His providence, from His generosity, from His protection, from His love. And you can carry on with all His beautiful names. So it is us who choose to acknowledge our Rabb and the benefits of His rububiyyah here and now, or we can also live in mindlessness of His rububiyyah. So it's not fear that God will throw us away. No, because God never throws us away. He's always close to us. It's up to us to acknowledge Him and strive to stay there, and fear being away from Him, because when we live mindlessly, when we're mindless of His rububiyyah, we remain away from His rahmah. So when we start living mindfully and we start seeing and observing and witnessing His rahmah and His beautiful names in everything around us, then we start knowing Him as our Rabb. We have that fear. We fear being away from our Rabb because we know that we cannot be with our Rabb. The mindless thing, they don't think about their Rabb. They don't even know how they are sustained. They don't care about that. They think they have important goals in life, all goals that have nothing to do with akhirah, goals that are abtar, they have no true future. But usually people can be totally engrossed in those goals, and it blinds us and we can't see the reality. So here I just wanted to make a difference that it's not we are fearing God because God will throw us away from Him. No, God does not throw anyone away. God is always close to us. We either acknowledge that reality and appreciate it and enjoy it, and we are grateful for it, and we live its benefits, because now we become aware that we don't have to fear other things because everything is under control, even though I cannot control anything. My Rabb is taking care of everything. So we feel safe, we feel secure when we are aware of our connection to our Rabb. But when we are mindless, when we are living in ghafla and we forget about his rububiyyah, then we ourselves put ourselves away from his rahmah. Remember, in the Quran, we are told again and again that God is close to us. وَنَحْنُ أَقْرَبُ إِلَيْهِ مِنْ حَبْلِ الْوَرِيدِ. We are told in Surah Al-Qaf, Surah 50, Ayah 16, وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ وَنَعْلَمُ مَا تُوَسْوِسُ بِهِ نَفْسُهُ وَنَحْنُ أَقْرَبُ إِلَيْهِ مِنْ حَبْلِ الْوَرِيدِ. Truly, it is we who have created human being, and we know what is his innermost self whispers within him, because we're closer to him than his neck vein. In Surah Al-Baqarah, Surah 2, Ayah 186, we are told, if my servants ask you about me, behold, I am near. وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِ عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ. Behold, I am truly near. I respond to the call of him who calls whenever he calls unto me. Let them then respond unto me and believe in me so that they might follow the right way. So God is close to us, and it is up to us to accept that reality and be aware of it, or live as though he were not close to us. So we become, in our own illusion or self-delusion, we become away. We put ourselves away from him, away from his rahmah, from his light, and live in darkness. In Surah Hud, Surah 11, Ayah 61, again we are told, Inna Rabbi qareebun mujib. Truly my Rabb, my sustainer, is ever near, responding to the call of whoever calls unto him. In Surah Al-Saba, Ayah 34, Surah 34, Ayah 50, we are told, وَإِنِ اهْتَدَيْتُ فَبِمَا يُوحِيَ إِلَيَّ Rabbi innahu sami'un qareeb. If I am guided, it is but except by virtue of what my sustainer reveals unto me. For truly he is all hearing, ever near, very close to me. So if I am ever guided, it is min fadli Rabbi. It is, or here, bima yuha. It is from my Rabb's, what he is revealing unto me. So when we are aware of this, when we appreciate this, when we are grateful for his rububiyyah, his guidance, then we realize that he is all hearing, always hearing us, answering us, guiding us, and he is very close to us, closer to us than our neck vein. And the muhsin know this, as they're always close to his rahmah, since our Rabb is qareeb, he's ever near. And in Surah Al-A'raf, Surah 7, Ayah 56, we are told, call unto him with fear and longing. وَادْعُوهُ خَوْفًا وَطَمَعًا إِنَّ رَحْمَةَ اللَّهِ قَرِيبٌ مِنَ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. Truly, God's mercy, God's rahmah is ever near unto the muhsins. So call unto him with fear and longing. And they are pleased, the muhsins are pleased with God because they know that he is pleased with them. In Al-Bayyina, Surah 98, Ayahs 7 and 8, which are the last two ayats of the surah, we are told, truly, those who have believed and do righteous deeds, it is they who are the best of all creatures. Khairul Bariyah. Their rewards is with their sustainer, with their Rabb, gardens of Eden with rivers running below, abiding therein forever. God is pleased with them, and they are pleased with him. That is for whosoever fears his sustainer. Radiyallahu anhum wa radu an, ذَلِكَ لِمَنْ خَشِيَ رَبَّهُ. So the word fear here is khashiyah, the same word that we are talking about. So who knows, who is aware that his Rabb is pleased with them and therefore responds with being pleased with him? Those who fear him. Those who fear their Rabb. Rabb here is very important. It means they know, they are aware of their ubudiyah, because we know God as our Rabb to the extent that we are aware of our ubudiyah, our being totally dependent on his rububiyyah, our being, all our needs are being taken care for us when we ourselves cannot take care of almost anything. That awareness of rububiyyah is the mirror which reflects the rububiyyah. And so, of course, the more there is awe there is fear, there is awe, there is admiration, there is praising, you cannot be not pleased with God. You can see how pleased he is with his ibad. All his rububiyyah being displayed, not only within us, but around us as well. Everything is being created. Remember at the beginning of this Surah, everything is being created and adorned for us so that we may choose to fulfill the purpose of our creation and do right, live righteously. Yet we are told we fear people instead of God. For instance, it's repeated many times, but for instance, in Surah An-Nisa, Surah 4, Ayah 77, in part of it, we are told, وَإِذَا فَرِيقٌ مِّنْهُمْ يَخْشَوْنَ النَّاسَ كَخَشْيَةِ اللَّهِ أَوْ أَشَدَّ خَشْيَةً. Behold, a group of them fear people as they should have feared God, or with even greater fear. Like they fear people as if they were God, or even sometimes even worse. Subhanallah. It's very damaging to human dignity to fear other people in this way. May Allah protect us. So here we can see that fearing others than God is a sign of there is a lack of iman, a lack of knowing God. Especially if it is persistent, because we could have the fear appears, it's okay, and some people are not going to act on it. They take it as a sign, as a warning, or some people will, in the beginning, you act on it and then realize that I took a step away from haqq, and go back and repent and make istighfar and ask for forgiveness. Inshallah. So the fear of others, again, is a source of misery and anxiety in this world and in the next. Whereas fear of God is seeking refuge in his rahmah in this world and in the next. In a commentary on Ayah 8 of Surah Taha, which is Allahu la ilaha illa huwa lahul asma'ul husna, God, there is no God except him, to him alone belong the most beautiful names. Imam Badi'u Zaman Sa'id al-Nursi, he says, it's a long commentary on this ayah, and in part of it, at the end, he says two faculties through which one may experience fear and love, or let's say two faculties, love and fear, and love has been included in human beings' nature. This love and fear are bound to be turned towards either creatures or creator. However, fear of creatures is a grievous affliction, while love for them is a calamitous tribulation. So, whether we fear things other than God or love them, in any case, it's going to be a calamity and bring misery to us. For you will fear people who will neither pity you nor accept your pleas of mercy. So fear becomes a grievous calamity. As for love, the one you love will either not recognize you or depart without bidding you farewell, like your youth or property, or else they will despise you because of your love. For to love and idolize, making idols worldly, beloveds within the inner heart, which is the mirror to the eternally self-sufficient one, whom everything depends on, Samad, oppresses the beloved, and he finds it disagreeable and rejects it, because human nature rejects and casts away things that are contrary to it and unworthy of it. That is to say, the things you love either will not recognize you, or they will scorn you, or they will not accompany you after the grave. They will not come with you, or they will part from you in spite of you. Either you leave them or they leave you, the best scenario. Since this is so, to direct your fear and love to the one by whom your fear will become pleasurable abasement, and your love shadowless happiness. Yes, to fear the glorious Creator means finding a way to his compassionate mercy and taking refuge in it. Fear is like a whip. It drives you into the embrace of his mercy. It is like when a mother gently scares her infant and draws it back to her embrace. That fear is most pleasurable for the child because it drives him to her tender embrace, whereas the tenderness of all mothers is but a flash of divine mercy. That means there is a supreme pleasure in fear of God. If there is such pleasure in fear of God, it is clear what infinite pleasure there is to be found in the love of God. Moreover, one who fears God is saved from the calamitous and distressing fear of others, for also because it's for God's sake, the love he has for creatures is not tinged with sorrow and separation. And he carries on how this is related to the divine names, to eternity, to paradise. And so you can see how fear of God is healing from the unfounded fears, those fears that are not based on truth, fears of things, various things that cause us much anxiety. And that's why we are urged to fear God. We are told, do not fear people, fear me. For instance, in Surah Al-Baqarah, Surah 2, Ayah 150, we are told, فَلَا تَخْشَوْهُمْ وَاخْشَوْنِي وَلِأَتِمَّ نِعْمَتِي عَلَيْكُمْ وَلَعَلَّكُمْ تَهْتَدُونَ. And do not fear them, but fear me, so that I may complete my blessings upon you and that you may be guided. And how I understand it, but I won't go into the details, is that when we stop fearing other things because we only fear God, only him can block my blessings. Only him can give me whatever I need. When I am sure of that, and in my heart there is the fear for other things, comes as fear of other things, but it is transformed. It becomes a means, like a whip, that pushes me towards seeking his rahmah. And then it says, so that I may complete my blessings upon you. Then the blessing is complete. Because otherwise we'll see the blessings only when things are nice and we like them. Whenever things are situations are fearful and we don't like it, or there is something going on, then it means we have not learned to use that fear as a sign that takes us back to God's rahmah, to our Rabb's rahmah. We are not, if it doesn't remind us that the situation is, does not remind us of His rahmah, that He is in control alone, it means we still don't know Him as our Rabb fully, and therefore we cannot appreciate and benefit from His blessings completely. When we fear Him, when the fear of things becomes means to remind us of His rahmah and to seek His help alone, then His blessings are complete and we will be guided, because then we will be guided in everything, will guide us back to Him, to His rahmah, to His rububiyyah. In Surah Al-Ma'idah, which is Surah 5, Ayah 3, we are told, so you don't fear them, but fear me. This day I have perfected for you your religion and completed my blessing upon you, and I have approved for you as religion submission. So you see this blessing being completed and fearing God appear together. So they are related. فلا تخشوهم واخشوني اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم وأتممت عليكم نعمتي ورضيت لكم الإسلام دينا. And it carries on, of course, but I am only citing some places. In Surah Al-Ma'idah again, Surah 5, Ayah 44, we are told, فلا تخشوا الناس واخشوني ولا تشتروا بآياتي ثمنا قليلا وَمَنْ لَمْ يَحْكُمْ بِمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْكَافِرُونَ. So do not fear people, but fear me. So you see, it's all imperative, this ayat. It's like saying, you pray, you fast, you do this, you fear me. Do not fear people, do not fear other things. And do not sell my signs, my ayat, for little price. Whosoever does not judge by that which God has sent down, it is they who are disbelievers. So I'll end with this passage because I think it's very meaningful. In Surah An-Nur, we are told, we have indeed sent down clear signs, and God guides unto a straight way or a straight path only him that wills to be guided. For they say, we believe in God and in the messenger and we obey. And then some of them turn away after this. And these are by no means believers. And so it is that whenever they are summoned unto God and his messengers in order to judge between them, some of them turn away. But if the truth happens to be to their liking, they are quite willing to accept it. Is there a disease in their hearts? Or do they doubt? Or do they fear that God and his messenger will deal unjustly with them? Nay, but it is they who are the wrongdoers. The only words of the believers when they are called unto God and his messengers, that he may judge between them, is to say, we hear and we obey, and it is they who shall prosper. For whosoever obeys God and his messenger, and who fears God and remains conscious of him, it is they who shall triumph. Very interesting. Those who, when things are to their liking, they say, okay, we accept. They are willing to accept God's judgment. So God's judgment is not only in the Quran, but also in life. What happens to us? When it is to our liking, it's from God. When it is not to our liking, it says, is there a disease in their heart? Of course, when there is no taqwa, when there is no God consciousness, when there is no ihsan, when there is no fear of God, when there is fear of things, that's a disease of the heart. Or do they doubt? They're not sure about God's rububiyyah, God's beautiful names. Or do they fear that God and his messenger will deal unjustly with them? Yes. It feels sometimes like it's unjust. Because we have this fantasy that as if life is about everything being as I like it. Where did we get this from? It's because we live mindlessly most of the time. If we lived more mindfully, we'll find that in everything that we like or dislike, there is plenty of wisdom and meaning and beauty, and they all are guiding us and indicating the life after death. They are making our Rabb known to us. And so that's beautiful, that's worth living, and there's justice in that. But when we are unaware of that, it seems like we are not aware that we are made to dislike something for a reason, for a wisdom, for a meaning, for a purpose. And we imagine that I am the one who likes this, I am the one who doesn't like this. Who I am to like or not like. Where did I get dislike or dislike from? Whoever made me this way, he is the one who is making me like something and dislike something. And so when I become aware of that, then I start asking, what is the wisdom? Why did you create something and make me like it, create something and make me dislike it? So when I like it, I am grateful to him alone. When I dislike it, I listen to the message therein. And I become aware that everything looks to him and is significant and worthy because it looks to his eternal beautiful names, because it looks to the eternal realm of the hereafter. Otherwise, anything that looks to this world alone, to things in themselves, it is dying, passing, temporary, and therefore it's not worth much. So I'll end with the passage in the original passage. استعيذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. لقد أنزلنا آيات مبينات والله يهدي من يشاء إلى صراط مستقيم ويقولون آمنا بالله وبالرسول وأطعنا ثم يتولى فريق منهم من بعد ذلك وما أولئك بالمؤمنين وإذا دعوا إلى الله ورسوله ليحكم بينهم إذا فريق منهم معرضون وإن يكن لهم الحق يأتوا إليه مذعنين في قلوبهم مرض أفي قلوبهم مرض أم ارتابوا أم يخافون أن يحيف الله عليهم ورسوله بل أولئك هم الظالمون إنما كان قول المؤمنين إذا دعوا إلى الله ورسوله ليحكم بينهم أن يقولوا سمعنا وأطعنا وأولئك هم المفلحون ومن يطع الله ورسوله ويخشى الله ويتقيه فأولئك هم الفائزون. May Allah make us of those who, inshallah, fear God and remain conscious of Him, and who, whenever they are called, they say, Sami'na wa ta'na, we hear and we obey. And only those are the muflihun, the ones who shall prosper, the one who shall triumph. الفائزون. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه آمين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Jazakumullah khair. Yamina. Ameen. Ameen. It's a beautiful dua. And Jazakumullah khair again for this beautiful session. May Allah make us live with it. Are there any comments or questions at this time? Okay, so on that note, we'll stop here. We have learned a lot about fearing God today. Alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khair again, Yamina, and thank you everyone for joining us tonight. And inshallah, see you next week. Assalamu alaikum.
Inshallah. Thank you.
I have a question.